I used to work as a bartender here in Toronto at a couple of different spots too. But my favorite was the wine bar that was within walking distance of my apartment. It was a 30 to 40 minute walk, so I use that term walking distance pretty loosely. But my route was from Queen Street West to High Park North, some of the safer areas of the city. So before the night in question, at least I'd never run into any trouble on the way home. I was a woman of just 23 at the time, and I was acutely aware that I was putting myself at risk by walking alone at night. I was a woman of just 23 at the time, and I was acutely aware that I was putting myself at risk by walking alone at night. But after the first few journeys, once I saw how quiet and deserted my route was, I started doing it every night. I got so comfortable that I even started listening to music during my walks, but only in one headphone and only on low volume so I could hear things going on around me. But no matter how vigilant I was, no matter how quiet my route, I guess it was only a matter of time before my luck ran out. And when it did, it ran out big time. It had been a quiet Wednesday evening at the wine bar when we closed around 11:30, and then after a quick clean down, my coworkers and I were clocked out and headed home by around 11:45. We sent our goodbyes, and then I headed off on my usual route, which at first took me through a bunch of quiet back streets before I turned onto a long tree-lined avenue. High Park was on the left of me. Buildings were to the right with hardly any traffic at all driving up and down the roads. As I was walking, a rear vehicle passed me before turning onto the street ahead of me. I noticed in passing that it was a white van and paid just enough attention to recognize when it drove around a second time, taking the exact same turn. I thought, hey, this van's just driving around in circles, so I wasn't surprised when I saw it coming around the block again. But instead of passing me, it slowed to a crawl at the curb, and I heard the driver calling out to me. I took out my one earphone, and I saw this tubby-looking guy with sandy brown hair sitting in the driver's seat. And then when we made eye contact, he asked if I was from around here. I didn't walk over to his window right away. I just told him, sure, and then he responds, oh, thank God. Last couple were all tourists, before he asked if I knew where this particular street was. I did know where it was, and I actually understood why he had trouble finding it too, because it was one of those awkward side streets with crappy signage that was tough to find unless you know it's there. And I started trying to explain where it was, but I quickly realized that I explaining things poorly. So when he held up a map and asked if I minded showing him because he'd only forget what I told him, I didn't think twice. I guess this is the part where I explained something about the driver, something that had me lowering my guard in a way that I wouldn't have otherwise. If this had been some creepy looking a-hole staring at me from his driver's seat, sort of saying, hey girl, you got a man, then there's no way in hell that I'd walk over like I did. But this guy with the sandy brown hair and blue polo seemed a little, I don't know how to put this other than slow. He had this kind of childlike innocence about him, like he was too dumb to be bad. And when he mentioned something about helping his mom move into a new apartment, I guess I got this harmless vibe from him. But that was the point, because if I was the fish, then the sudden noise of the door sliding open scared the hell out of me. So I jumped back on instinct before the guy's feet even touched the concrete. And then once it hit me what was really going on, when I realized how dumb I'd been to fall for what was obviously a trap, I started running as fast as I could. I tried to get away, but the guy chasing me caught up fast. So the best I could do was run for some railings that belonged to one of the buildings. And all I could think was, they can't get me in the van if they can't get me off those railings. So I held on to them for dear life and started screaming for help. As the guy wrapped his arms around my waist and started trying to drag me back towards the van, all I could do was scream while holding on harder than I'd ever held on to anything before. The guy pulled so hard I thought my arms might break, but I knew that was better than whatever was waiting for me in that van. He tried pulling my hands free by the wrist, but I managed to bite him on the hand, like the real bony part on the back. So he screamed and let go, but he was so mad that he started trying to punch me directly in the face too. I guess to try and knock me out so I'd let go. He pulled his fist back and swang at me, but I saw it coming and started shrinking down, so he couldn't do anything but punch my neck and the back of my head. He then started trying to kick my wrist so I'd let go of the railings. But every time he got close, I'd regain my grip as he lunged down to grab me. I was screaming the whole time, but after he failed to kick my hands free of their grip, he joined in with the yelling too, and told his buddy in the driver's seat to come give him a hand. Now, I thought I'd done a pretty good job of holding that one guy off and stopping him from dragging me away, but I knew that the two of them trying together would be the end of it. So when I looked around and saw the bigger, tubbier guy opening up his door, I started wailing as well as screaming. I wasn't just screaming for help anymore. I was begging them not to take me, saying that I'd do anything if they just left me alone, but neither man was interested. They had made it up in their minds about what they wanted to do with me, and there was no reasoning with them. But then, just as the bigger guy started walking towards us from the van, I heard someone yelling from all the way across the street, shouting for them to get their hands off of me right now. Someone was running towards us, wearing nothing but a robe, their underwear, and a pair of sneakers. But the thing that really caught my attention was the big old hockey stick they were carrying. The tubby guy ran back to his driver's seat the second he saw the guy with the stick. And then the scumbag trying to drag me off the railings did the same when he realized that they were suddenly in for a fair fight. He ran, jumped into the back. Then, as soon as he slid the door closed, the van took off and the man running towards us had to dart out of the way so it didn't hit him. He took a swing at it with his hockey stick as it sped off and then turned back to me, running over asking if I was hurt and needed any help. He turned out to be the owner of a store across the street, one who lived in the apartment above. He'd been up late and had heard me screaming from the moment I started. He actually apologized for taking so long because he had to put on some clothes and grab his hockey stick, but I didn't mind because he was literally my hero in that moment. He invited me into his store so I could wait for the cops there and get something warm to drink. I accepted the invite, and within maybe 30 minutes, I was talking to a pair of Toronto PD officers with a mug of hot cocoa in my hands. I told them everything, not that they were of any help, and so did the store owner. And then once I was done, they were nice enough to give me a ride home so I wouldn't have to head back out into the dark after going through something so terrifying. I guess it was the least they could do, but it still meant a lot to me, as did the help that I got from Mr. Hockey Stick and his little furniture store, a piece of which now sits in my apartment as a kind of thanks turned memento. Not a memento of how I almost got abducted, but a memento of that perfect moment of compassion and kindness that led him to come running to my rescue in his underwear while carrying nothing but a hockey stick.